the show, guys, I've got a mock draft here for you. We're going to do the first 4 rounds of this mock draft, but we want to mainly focus on the 12th pick and the 13th pick. So you want the later end of the snake draft at, first round, right? The later end. So I want to focus on that because I get asked a lot, who do I draft here on this turn? And there's been a lot of bad information, fantasy football advice information being given out on this turn. So I want to debunk that. I want to discuss everything about this turn, this 1.12 and this 2.01 pick, 13th and 14th pick. Now, if you're in a 10-person league and you typically draft in 10 people, similar type of situation. I mean, you're going to have some more players to play with. If you're in a 14-person league, similar situation, but you're going to have less players to play with. But I really want to cover it, guys. Very important we focus on this area because what's happening in every mock draft typically is you're seeing a lot of these running backs come off. You literally are. You're seeing the workhorses starting to come off. Why is that? Well, people are waking up. People are realizing that robust RB is the way to go. You want to load up on the most scarce position, and maybe it's because of me promoting it heavily and people are waking up, but a lot of the mainstream sheepses are telling you go zero RB, which is absolutely ludicrous. That's a whole other video. We're going to do another scenario where you go zero RB and how it's terrible, but today I really want to focus on this turn. Now, if you are new to the channel, this is the game changer. There's a lot of bad advice being given out there. Pretty much 99% of the other guys out there are giving terrible advice. How do I know? Well, people send me stuff. People send me stuff to my DM. Hey, Joe, look at this bad advice. Look at this consensus. And a lot of stuff, I'm like the only guy, right, out there right now that's giving advice that's non-consensus, okay? Everybody else is saying, hey, let's draft based on ADP. Why do they do that? They do that because that's a safe thing to do. They have draft kits. And if they sell you a draft kit based on ADP and what everyone else is doing, then what's going to happen, guys, is they're not going to get in trouble for it. There's going to be no accountability. If everybody does something wrong, you're not going to get caught for it. Like, okay, man, everybody's giving bad advice. Well, everybody did it, so it's okay. I put myself on the line there for you. I tell you, these are the optimal players, and I'm not right 100% of the time, but I'm far more correct than just drafting based on ADP and what everyone else is doing. So, if you want to win your leagues, guys, get the 16-round draft session. I linked it below. Use code TUBE20. Save yourself 20%. Sleepers, breakouts, full mock drafts, everything you guys need to crush your leagues, guys. Get 16 rounds. I've linked it below, or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. All right, let's dive into this mock draft here. If you're listening in the car, I'm going to be walking through all the picks here so that you have some sort of visual representation in your mind of what's happening here on screen for all you guys watching on YouTube. If you're here on YouTube, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up and click that subscribe button, and welcome to the Common Sense Line Mentality Corner here, all right? So round one, what's happening here, guys? Very, very typical here. And there's so many different variations of how these players are picked up off the board. Jonathan Taylor typically comes off at the 101 every single time. And I've got some issues with Jonathan Taylor. And the only issue I really have with him, actually I got two main things. Matt Ryan is there. I think he's going to throw the ball a lot more. And number two, guys, decline is imminent. He had such astronomical numbers last year. He's going to come down. And they brought in Lindsey. I think they might lighten his load a little bit based on last year. Again, that just a gut feeling here. And based on history, right? What goes up must come down. Even though Taylor's at the 101, I see guys like Najee Harris or someone else, even like a Derrick Henry, emerging ahead of him, having a record type year for Derrick Henry, right? Those guys are big volume getters. I know Taylor is, but again, what goes up must come down. So let's dive into this. Let's lay it out what's happening right now with this particular scenario, all right? Let's see what's in front of us. Taylor went first, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, way too high for a guy at a pinnacle year, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, and DeAndre Swift. Again, this is very, very typical here. You typically see 2 receivers come off early, maybe 3 receivers come off early, and those 3 are Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And before I even tell you what I'm going to do here on the turn and dive into the first 4 rounds here, I want to let you guys know that there is a ton of depth at wide receiver. I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to show you guys something here that just blows my mind. You got Tyreek Hill, who's very high, copied and pasted from last year, and you got Davante Adams, very high, copied and pasted from last year. These guys were in, entirely different situations with better quarterbacks. They've taken a downgrade. And what kind of blows my mind here is that Jalen Waddle and Higgins are ranked relatively high. Okay, Higgins is 11th, Waddle is 16th. These are wide receiver twos, right? You've got Brandon Cooks sitting over here. You got Jerry Jeudy sitting over here. You got Darnell Mooney, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and on and on and on. There's a ton of wide receiver ones here, yet the mainstream consensus are telling you to draft Higgins ahead of like guys like Pittman, who's a wide receiver one. Again, it doesn't make sense to me. I know the offense is good, but very, very expensive. So I want to let you guys know there's a ton of depth at wide receiver. So we're looking at this first round. Why would I invest, common sense corner here, why would I invest a first round pick on a guy like Cooper Kupp, right? When I know specifically, I know he's going to decline. I just know it, right? Jefferson, I think Thielen, was on par with him at the beginning of the season. He got hurt near the end of the season, right? I can get Thielen later. Jamar Chase, I actually do like. I think Jamar Chase is an absolute monster. I don't think he's cracked his, ceiling at all. So, again, let's go through the first round. Taylor, Henry, McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift. So you're on the turn here, right? A lot of running backs are coming off. Now, Jamar Chase typically falls here. You may want to consider a wide receiver. If you want to go wide receiver, you could do that. But make sure you go running back in the next 2 rounds. Now, here's some interesting thoughts here. A lot of people, what I'm seeing go here, they go running because they want that running back as well. What they'll do is they'll play it safe. They'll go Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. I'll tell you the problem with those guys. Those guys are in pure committees, all right? A.J. Dillon outdid Aaron Jones last year. So anyone telling you Aaron Jones end of round 1, early round 2 is nuts. Now, the only argument I have for taking Aaron Jones, or the reasoning that I could solidify why they would take Aaron Jones, is a possible uptick in PPR reception. So I kind of get it. I get the fascination that he's going to be lining up possibly as a receiver, catching more balls. I get it. But when you look at him from a volume perspective, he didn't play the full season, missed a couple games last year, right? But A.J. Dillon outdid him in rushing touchdowns, 5-4, 5 rush touchdowns to 4. Outdid him in rushing attempts and outdid him in rushing yards. So to me, I'm looking at A.J. Dillon and I'm looking at him as the RB1, right? So I'm looking at even if not as RB1, as a split committee. So Aaron Jones, too expensive for me on this turn. Leonard Fournette, the guy is 260 pounds. He's making jokes about it on Twitter. I don't know, man. I think he had his pinnacle hurrah last season. I still think Tampa Bay has a good season. I think they have another Super Bowl run. Tom Brady gets another ring. Leonard Fournette could be a beneficiary of there. But I'm not investing it on good old Uncle Lenny here, right? So I look at, Nick Chubb, again, people like him. Kamara, I'm uncertain here with what's going on with off-field stuff for him. I think James Conner was a little inflated. So the only 2 running backs that stick out to me are Saquon Barkley and Javonte Williams. Now, let me tell you why. Let me explain my reasoning here, right? Now, I was just in a $2,000, I am in a $2,000 buy-in league, right? And the draft was about 2-3 weeks ago, and someone took Saquon Barkley at the 110. And you got to understand why. Contract year, guys, for Saquon Barkley, right? Improved O-line, focal point of the offense, make or break season. He's got to thrive this season, okay? Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, they both have to thrive this season. Their careers depend on it. They have to do something this year, right? He's going to line up as a receiver. He's going to catch a lot of balls, get a lot of volume. 0 committee there for Saquon Barkley. So when you compare Saquon Barkley from a volume perspective, in a back against the wall perspective, in a talent perspective, Saquon Barkley is a superior running back to Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb physically. All signs lead to Saquon Barkley having a good year. When you look at Javonte Williams, right? And then you compare him with Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones, who I see coming off here on this turn a lot because they're the safer bet, apparently. You got to take a look at Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte Williams is slated as a starter. Melvin Gordon wasn't even supposed to come back. He ended up coming back. Last year, Javonte Williams had 203 attempts, 4 touchdowns. Now, it doesn't seem appealing. Melvin Gordon had the 8 touchdowns, 203 attempps. I believe with absolute certainty that they're going to shift more volume towards Javonte Williams. If that's the case, he'll get more volume. So I'm not seeing a massive high ceiling there for Javonte Williams, but because Melvin Gordon's there. But what I'm seeing is youth, and I'm seeing a safer floor. I'm seeing 220 rushing attempts, 8 touchdowns, and about 1,200 yards on the ground. So even though Javonte Williams doesn't catapult and boost and make me super excited here, I still see a safer floor than I do with a guy like Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones, all right? So all these running backs here are good on the turn. I prefer Saquon Barkley and Javonte Williams. Now, let me say a couple more things here. Zeke Elliott finished top 7 last year. For some reason, he is in the 3rd round. Now, If you really want to play it absolutely safe, could go Saquon and Zeke Elliott here, because Zeke Elliott will finish top 10. Zeke Elliott was playing with a partially torn PCL last year. I feel safer with Zeke Elliott than I do with Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb. That's me. Now, the only reason he's turned off is because the ADP is showing us that he's a lower RB. Remember, guys, last year, Najee Harris was outside the top 10 in all running back rankings. Understand that, right? So I'm not just telling you, hey, just go with the safe Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb. Those guys are pure committee backs. I'm making you think here, right? Another guy you may want to consider here is Breece Hall. Again, very early, but here's the thing. Let's see how it plays out. If I don't go with Zeke Elliott or Breece Hall here, they're not coming back. So you got to make a decision, especially if you're going robust RB, and that's where it gets kind of tricky here at the 1.12 and the 2.01. It gets tricky on this turn, guys, all right? But I will tell you this. Those are your options, okay? Now, you can take a look at wide receiver. You can play it safe with Diggs and CeeDee Lamb, who have high ceilings. Adams could have a high ceiling, but again, I'm not sold on Derek Carr and the Waller's there and Renfro. And then you've got Tyreek Hill. So you got an option here of comboing a Stephon Diggs with a Barkley or a Javonte, and hopefully a Breece Hall, Zeke Elliott, or Montgomery fall. Those are your options. But because I want to go robust RB, because I don't feel Breece Hall and Zeke Elliott are coming back, I need to load up on running backs. After that, it gets really slim and trim. I mean, you could go A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins. I don't trust coming off that injury. Gibson's one fumble away from losing his job. ATN, he could be good. Do we really trust Trevor Lawrence in his second year? And then Robinson comes back. He was the workhorse running back. Cam Akers could be solid, but he's total boomer bust. Major risk pick here. Big time risk. So I'm just going to go ahead and draft Saquon Barkley. And then I'm going to go, again, we talked about that safe floor with Javonte Williams. I'm going to see how this fizzles out here and see if I get my RB3 coming back and see how it plays out. Again, this is based on really based on ADP. So let's see how the aftermath here. So again, first round, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift. We went Barkley and Javonte. Then Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, CeeDee Lamb, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Zeke Elliott, and James Conner come off. So as you can see here, guys, ADP, sometimes they are, again, people want that robust RB strategy. So as you saw Zeke Elliott come off here at the end of round 2. He wasn't coming back. Then you went, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Mark Andrews start off the third round. Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Breece Hall coming off here mid-round 3. Keenan Allen, Cam Akers coming off, Kyle Pitts, T. Higgins, and A.J. Brown. When I see people like A.J. Brown, T. Higgins come off, Jalen Waddle, I get excited because I'm not even targeting those guys at all. So we're back here at the 312, and David Montgomery is there. Very tempting option. There is talk about them being a committee as well with him and Herbert. When you look at running backs available here, I mean, I would have to take David Montgomery. But assuming David Montgomery doesn't fall here, imagine they didn't go Higgins. This guy wanted to get a second running back here near the end of the third round. He had Mixon, he went Adams. Now he wants, let's say he wants David Montgomery. So it's very unlikely that he comes off here, right? So who do I look at here? There is some receiving options here. I really like him Brandon Cooks here. Unfortunately, John Mechie, if you heard the news, has cancer. Will be missing the season most likely here. Or said he's going to miss the season, one of the top wide receiver prospects on the Houston Texans. I was watching some tape with Davis Mills. Brandon Cooks looks really good, and I think he's going to get a lot of volume. But again, has his concussions in his past, some injuries, gets hurt quite often. I do like Nico Collins as a sleeper later, but you have some options here. Now, I do like Alec Pierce later. Michael Pittman can be and should be a true wide receiver 1. So he's an option there. But since Montgomery's sitting here, I need a running back. You could take a look at tight end here. Nothing really appealing, very early for that. Quarterback too early as well. Now, let me talk about that in a second. But running back, I got to go David Montgomery here. I want my robust RB strategy. So I went Saquon, Javonte, David. Again, that's how you handle that turn there. I've laid it out for you guys. This is just how it's going to be, guys. I'm not making this stuff up. These are your options. You could go Chubb. You could go Aaron Jones. I've stated that they're in committees. I've stated that Javonte has a safe floor, could be a pure starter there. Melvin Gordon's one fumble away from losing more volume. You got Saquon Barkley in a contract year. You could have went wide receiver there, still ended up with, a David Montgomery here. You could have went, Diggs or someone like that, Javonte Montgomery. Breece could have fell here in 3, very unlikely. You could have went Breece Hall here with a high ceiling but very big risk. You could have went Cam Akers here as well. again, there's just different options you can go with. What I focus on is running backs to middle committees, high on the depth chart, guys. And again, main thing is not having them in a committee, all right? So I'm going to end this up here with the 4th pick here. And I got to tell you, there's wide receivers for days. For me to invest on Michael Pittman here, it's a good, viable option. Deontay Johnson, I liked it a little bit better last year with Big Ben. DJ Moore, I don't trust. Terry McLaurin, I don't trust. Brandon Cooks, I like, but again, too expensive here in the 4th. I'm probably considering here maybe going with anchoring my team with an ace quarterback. I don't really go quarterbacks early, but 4th round value, Justin Herbert, not bad. A guy that I know is going to be a top quarterback, going to give me a ton of volume, and I've secured my quarterback. If you miss out on him, guys, don't worry. There's a ton of depth at quarterback as well. I've got my 3 running backs. I don't really got to be concerned about that position right now. Wide receivers, I know there's a ton of depth. Tight end, I can wait as well because I'm not really concerned about Darren Waller in a committee there with, Devontae Adams coming there expecting 169 targets, apparently, according to what everyone's saying. Again, Waller's good, but Adams is there, guys. I don't really trust it. George Kittle could have a big year, suspect offense. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on with Debo. I don't know what's going on, how good Trey Lance is going to be. 4th round, a little expensive for me. So again, what I'm going to get is a security and upside of that ace quarterback, Justin Herbert, because I don't think he's coming back in round 5. So I'm going to go ahead and draft him. All right, guys? So there's your 4 rounds, guys. 4 rounds. And I wanted to handle that 1 pick there, guys, on that turn, fully laid out for you guys in detail. Because again, a lot of people ask me about that. I wanted to address it, and that's the best way I would handle it right there. Again, you have other options, and it comes down to how you feel and what your gut feeling says, right? If you don't feel warm and fuzzy about Javonte, don't draft Javonte, okay? I'm making my suggestions based on my research, my data, the talent I've researched, the volume, the opportunity. Everything leads me to pick that player. That's what I do. It's up to you guys to make the decision. I'm giving you my best suggestion, all right, guys? So Fantasy Football Mock Draft 2022, there's that turn for you guys, the 12th pick. Hopefully this helps you out, clears it out for you guys. Appreciate it. Leave your comments below. Love to get your feedback. Thank you guys. To get the 16-round draft solution, use code TUBE20, guys. You'll crush your leagues. All right, guys? Appreciate it. I'm out. Thank you.